If there was one word to describe this week's Pride of NASCAR legend, it would have to be intensity. Let's just say Alan Kulwicki was unique. He was in many ways his own crew chief, always thinking ahead. In fact, Kulwicki was heavily recruited at one time by renowned team owner Junior Johnson in his heyday, and Kulwicki turned him down because he wanted to do it his way. Nobody did that. Kyle Petty has the story of the man known as Special K.
One of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers, Alan Kulwicki, built a legacy in NASCAR that may never be repeated. In 1992, he became the last independent driver-owner to win a NASCAR Cup Series championship. Tragically, his reign as a champion was cut short. On April 1st, 1993, Alan Kulwicki died in a plane crash on his way to Bristol, Tennessee. He was a fierce competitor on the track and a perfectionist in the garage. His desire, perseverance, and conviction were what led him from underdog to champion. How hands-on was Alan in the organization, in the team?
He was very hands-on. Small group of guys, you know, and he was a key part of it.
The neat thing about him was he never asked you to do something he wasn't willing to do himself. If, like I said, rating a spring or changing a rear end gear, he was not above or beyond doing that himself.
Alan would come over, and as you know, we flew a lot on the planes together.
Right.
And Alan would say, what bar you got, what springs you got,
right.
You know, what's your nose weight, what's your cross. And I would tell him, and he would say, well, that's wrong. How hard or easy was he to work with?
He was hard to work with, very demanding. Wanted things done his way. He had his vision of how things should be done, and he wanted to do it that way.
It was just his level of determination and doing whatever it took to be successful at that.
The guy was absolutely driven. He was focused. He was intense. He knew what he wanted. He absolutely knew when you had your first communication with him, if you were talking nonsense, he didn't want to talk to you.
After winning Rookie of the Year in 1986, Alan established himself as a contender among NASCAR's best. Several owners took notice of his success and tried to hire him as a driver for them. But Alan's belief in doing things his way never wavered. He appeared to be, from the outside, so single-mindedly focused on making his deal work,
right,
and making it work his way. Is that the way it was?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even you know, after we were fairly successful and Junior was trying to get him to come drive for him, that was a big deal. And he definitely went and talked to Junior quite a bit, you know, a couple of times, but he just kept coming back to his own deal because he'd done so much, something he didn't want to leave behind.
He was a pioneer, so to speak, in that, you know, he did do everything his way, on his own, and independent, which never could happen again. And I think that's definitely what makes the story all the more compelling.
He believed that when people offered him another job, that was taking his eye off the goal that he had. And he really believed that he was going to be somebody. As attractive as the offer could have been, and he had some offers, some really serious offers, he was focused and he's channeled his attention to, he's going to do it.
Alan Kulwicki from Greenfield, Wisconsin, in his 85th start on the Winston Cup Series. They're going to cross the line just about side by side, but it is Alan Kulwicki winning the inaugural Checker 500.
There were only 3 or 4 cars that could win races when you'd go to the racetrack. And Alan established himself during those 2 or 3 years. Were you guys thinking championship?
We felt really strong about our potential to run really good. Shortly after we were into the season and went into Bristol leading the points, we thought, well, okay, we're a contender here, you know.
They started to believe. It was like he was the preacher, they were the congregation. The message was, we're going to win, and we're going to win by racing hard, racing smart, and we can beat them on less money.
Going into that race, when you guys show up at the racetrack that Sunday morning, what was that Sunday morning like?
You know, I think that was pretty calm. You know, we were the 3rd place guy. We knew we just had to go out and do all we could do. You know, and then of course when Ernie and Davey got together, and Davey ended up getting knocked out of the race, and then it was just down to us and Bill.
When did you guys realize this is our deal?
Not till it was over, really.
Yeah.
You know, we knew we had to get to the point to lead the most laps, but we also still had to finish second after we did that. You know, so any little hiccup could have swore us.
Alan Kulwicki is coming off of corner number 4, knowing that he's winning the championship. There's the checkered flag for Alan. He's the champion for 92.
What was Alan Kulwicki like that day?
Very excited, very happy, but really the same Alan.
Yeah.
And I don't think he, you know, even after the next day, you know, it was, what are we going to do next year to make sure we stay on top?
To me, it was an unusual Alan. It was, I did it, I'm actually going to smile, I'm actually going to celebrate it, and I don't even believe I just did what I really believed I was going to do all along.
This was my dream. I came in a pickup truck and a trailer, and I'm really proud of the whole team.
But at the end of the day, he really believed he was going to get done what he set out to do. He liked being the underdog, and he liked being the underbird.
He had done what the underdog stood for, and that was the little guy beating the big guy.
The fact that they didn't think he was the horse that could win the Kentucky Derby, he liked that.
Just a storybook ending. Just really wonderful.
Everybody loves an underdog, but when you look at what Alan Kulwicki did, it is truly amazing, especially when you look at these times with sponsorship and teams being so important in this sport.
And the thing is, he did it with so little. He did it with not a huge budget. He did it with not a lot of people, not of cars. You talk about not giving up. With 6 races to go in the 1992 season, he was 278 points out of the lead. The only person that knew that he could still do it, I think, was Alan Kulwicki.
Yeah, you know, he didn't have a big budget, but he had a huge heart. And to the day I stopped driving a race car, I wore an AK-7 on my sleeve in memory of Alan Kulwicki. We were friends. He was just an incredible person, an incredibly focused individual. Like Paul said, he drove him hard, but he drove him hard for one purpose, and that was to win a championship. He was a great race car driver, a really good guy, and he would still be having an impact on the sport today.
Absolutely.